Hey everybody, welcome to the chapter 4. Oh no, chapter 5, sorry. Chapter 5 walkthrough. Anyway, sorry about that. Chapter 5 walkthrough for our QuickBooks class. Um, and so I'm just gonna get right to it. This chapter covers operating activities of purchases and cash payments. Last chapter was other operating activities. So anyway, like I said, I'll get right to it. So after the overview, the first section we get into is vendors. And vendors are people who sell us stuff. So, the first little instructions they give you there is how to open up the company. And again, I continue to have these little issues where sometimes the drop-down menus don't work, even when I'm using um, uh, Microsoft Edge instead of Chrome. So now I'm not sure that it's the browser. It's like this little sample company is picky or something. And usually, if I just close out the browser and then go to the thing again, it works for me. So I don't know exactly what causes the problem, but nonetheless, it's still happening sometimes. Luckily, it doesn't seem to happen on our regular company files. So it's got to be an issue with this fake sample company that has problems. Anyway, so here we go with vendors. We're going to click expenses and then click vendors. So over here on the left-hand side, expenses, and we can choose vendors. Again, that's people who sell stuff to us. And we're going to create a new vendor. And the name of the vendor is Valley Rock. Oh, I'm assuming they sell rock. Maybe they're a band, but I'm pretty sure they sell rock. And then the address, 290 Central Avenue. The city is Middletown. I don't know if you pronounce it Middletown or Middleton. Maybe if you're from California, you can let me know. And the zip code 94482. And then the last thing it says is select net 30 from the terms. So this is the one I had problem with the first time I tried this. So all payment terms mean is how long does this vendor give you to pay? So when you're selling to other people, the terms mean how long you give them to pay. And net just means the whole amount is due. So we're saying that this vendor, Valley Rock, gives us 30 days, and they don't offer any discounts for paying early or anything. So I'm going to hit save, and that's it. So I've created a new vendor called Valley Rock that's here in my vendor area. The next section is purchase orders. And so here's where we can set up purchase orders. For some businesses, they have existing relationships with their suppliers or with their vendors, where they can use purchase orders, in essence, which is like a promise to pay. It's sort of like management's way of saying, if you get a purchase order from us, that means we have vetted it and authorized it, so you can go ahead and deliver the goods to us, and we promise we'll pay you. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead, and the first step here is the plus icon right here, or new, okay, and select purchase order. So you'll see that's under vendors, and it's called purchase order. And then we'll create a new purchase order for the vendor Valley Rock, the one we just created in first step. And you can scroll down or you can start to type it, whatever works best for you. We're going to go ahead and just use this date as our purchase order date, whatever date you're entering it on. And then we're going to click on product and service. So one of the things they want to show us here is you can use the existing products or services, or instead of having to go all the way to the products and services area and then add a new product or service, you can add one from right here by clicking add new. So that's step 5. And now we're going to create a new inventory product. This is step 6, and it's going to be called Landscape Rock. Our initial quantity on hand is going to be 0. As of, just use today's date, whatever it is when you're filling this out. And the category is going to be landscaping. It's going to be an inventory asset account, and our sales price is going to be $75. Our cost is going to be 50. And our income account for the sales is going to be sales of product income. So for mine, it was already there. I didn't have to change it. My expense account is going to be cost sold, and then it's taxable at the standard rate. So we don't have to change that either. We'll go ahead and hit save and close. And so now we've created that new product called Landscape Rock right from this purchase order. We didn't have to leave and come back. So this tells us to put 100. That's the quantity. And now you can see we have a purchase order. So what's cool about this is not only does it create a document that our vendor can use to know that we've authorized payment after they bill us, it adds it into our inventory. So we don't have to do that. That's two separate things. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and new. Okay, and now on step 9, I'm going to select Hicks Hardware as my vendor. Go ahead and just use today's date, whatever it is for you. And then step 10, we'll see that down here in the item details, it's already got stuff. So the way the system works is it just assumes you're going to buy the same stuff. You don't have to type it, especially if you buy a lot of the same stuff from the same supplier. If you did have to, you could clear all the lines and put in totally different stuff. But that's just kind of a cool feature that it is, it leaves it there so that you can take what you had before and adjust it. So one of the things they want to show us, it says to click on 25, but if you click on 25, it goes away. It's trying to show you that if you just roll over like the quantity on any of these items, it'll show you how much quantity you have on hand in your inventory system. So you can see I have 31 of these landscaping sprinklers. And so even though it says click on it, really you just roll over it. Just put your mouse pointer over it and it will tell you what the quantity you have on hand. So it's going to tell us to go ahead and so when we're doing this purchase order, we're actually going to buy all the same stuff, but we're going to change the quantities of it. So we're going to do our rock fountain to 3. We're going to order 3 of those. We're going to order 20 of the sprinkler heads, 30 of the sprinkler pipes, and then 4 of the pumps. So it looks like this job's a little bigger than the last one we did. Whoops. And then the other thing we can do is if we're making this order and just specifically for a specific customer, we can go ahead and just put the customer's name right in there. So on step 12, it tells us to put in cookies by Kathy. So we're doing this job for that customer. And so it will automatically add these to the customer's billing when we go to make the invoice for the customer, which is kind of cool. Because again, otherwise I'd have to do that as a separate thing. There we were ordering all this stuff and we're ordering it for this customer, cookies by Kathy. Step 13, we're going to save and close. That's it for that second section on purchase orders. Now we'll move to the bills section. So bills are just a way of telling QuickBooks that we're ready to pay something. So it usually means we pull from a vendor, and it doesn't mean we're paying it right now, but that we've received a bill. I guess is the best way to put that. Sometimes it also means that we've received services that we're going to pay at some future point. And again, read the text. To add a bill, we just go up to new, under vendors, bill is an option, and it brings up our add bill window. So this is step 2 in the bills section. 3, it tells us to do Tim Phillip Masonry. There's Tim Phillip Masonry. And then we're going to select, because the vendor that we created doesn't have, or that we chose doesn't have terms in the system, we'll tell it the terms. and that will automatically adjust our due date because we're saying it's due within 30 days. And then sometimes we're setting our bills up by categories and other times by items. So it tells us to collapse the category details and expand the item detail. That's steps 5 and 6. And then if we look over here, we'll see we already have a purchase order open for Tim Phillip Masonry. So what we're going to do is just say we're going to add all of the purchase orders we have open. In this case, we only have one. But by doing that, it puts all the info that was on that purchase order here in the bill, so we don't have to like type it all out again. And so step 8, it now shows all that stuff that we had on the purchase order, which is what I just said. And that's it. So it's pretty nice if you have a purchase order available and you're in essence just converting it to a bill. And we're going to hit save and new. And then we'll move on to step 10, create another bill for Tanya's nursery. Again, this is our vendor billing us. So we're recording that we owe this money to them. Again, we're going to select net 30 from the terms, use the date, use our bill date, and it will do an automatic due date for us. And then when we go to line 1 in the products and services area here, again, we're going to add something new. So again, we can add new products and services from this point too. And we're going to add a new inventory product called lavender. You spell lavender, E-N-D-E-R. I don't spell it that often, right? The initial quantity on hand is 0, so we don't actually have any lavender yet. That's why we're buying some from Tanya's nursery. We'll use today's date as the as of date. We're going to put it as a landscaping item. And make sure it's listed as an inventory asset. Our sales price rate is $15, and our cost is 10. And the income account is sales of product income, and the expense account is cost of goods sold. It says is taxable, yes, which just means the sales tax box should say taxable standard rate, which it does. So we're good there. And then we're going to hit save and close. You'll see that we've added lavender here in our product or service. We're going to tell it 100 for the quantity. And I think that's it. So there we've created a bill from Tanya's nursery for 100 lavender at a cost of 10 each. And we're going to hit save and new. That's step 15 if you're going down the steps. And for step 16, we're going to hit another bill from Computers by Jenny. And again, we're going to select net 30 for the terms. So that was step 17. In step 18, we're going to expand the category details section and collapse the item details section. And we're going to select equipment rental. Maybe, there it is. You'll notice under just the difference between the two in category details, we just do amounts, right? We're not adding items to our inventory. So under item details is where we're adding items to our inventory. That's why we have to have quantities and stuff like that. So it depends on what we're buying, right? This supplier, we're doing equipment rental. And then we're going to type 1200 on the amount line. If we wanted to bill it to a customer, we could choose billable, but we're not. And so that's it. We're just doing 1200, probably, I don't know what we rented from them, but we rented $1,200 worth. And then we're going to click save and new. So many bills. Isn't this like real life? Like when we do revenue, like money we've earned, it's like one. When we do bills, it's like 4 or 5 of them. Welcome to life, huh? So we're going to do another bill for Brosnahan Insurance Agency. You'll see terms actually popped up in here as net 10 because this company, we already had terms in the system for them. You'll see the due date will be 10 days from today. You'll see right now we have insurance in the category, but we're actually going to change that to do prepaid expense. So what we're doing here is we are paying in advance for our insurance. The amount is $1,800. And so we don't want to just record this as an expense. Whoops. We want to record this as an asset called prepaid expenses. Because even though we're paying $1,800, it's not all a cost right now. We're going to recognize that we're going to have insurance covering full year. So we're just recording it as a prepaid expense asset. And there's actually a little bit in here about that worth reading through. When we do a bill, we can either record it to an expense or an asset. And you'll see prepaid expenses is an other current asset. It just means expenses we're paying in advance for. Expenses we're paying for right now. Step 28, we're going to hit save and close. For the bills section, chapter 5. So we're going to move on to the next section. The next section is payment of bills and use of credit card and other payments for items. We're actually going to go through how to pay something with a credit card and how to pay something using a check. So anyway, it'll give us a couple different choices. So to do that, we're going to go up to New, and we're going to click on Pay Bills. And then a listing of all of our possible bills, things that are due, pops up. And then they just want to show you some ways you can look at it. So if you wanted to see your bill payees alphabetically, you can sort this row alphabetically by clicking on the little arrow next to payee. Or if you want to shrink or expand different columns, like we could make the payee column wider by grabbing the little line in between payee and ref number, or we can make due date wider or whatever, right? So they're just showing you in these steps 3, 4, etc., that and 5 that you can sort of adjust this to whatever view looks best for you. So on step 6, it's telling us to sort it by due date. We can see the ones that are due soonest, and these ones with the little red exclamation points next to them mean they're past due. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to pay those bills. So we're just going to check the check mark next to them. And then we're going to go ahead in step 7, and just say save and close. And we've marked those as paid. That was it. So now I'm going to move on to the next section there, which is to record a credit card or check payment. Okay. So, and it's actually worth reading this little section in the middle if you haven't read it yet. So just read that. It'll kind of explain the difference between the two things we're going to do here. We just used, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do click expense. You can actually use this for either one of these things, but they're just showing you the two different ways. We're going to pay a vendor called Chin's Gas and Oil. And we're going to pay with a MasterCard. And then, we're going to, it already says automobile fuel because it's based on the last time we paid them. But $85. Prices are going up. Hope they don't go up anymore, right? And then we hit save and close. So that just says we're charging $85 to Chin's Gas and Oil on our MasterCard. I'm going to hit save and close. And then if I'm paying with a check, I can go up here and I can use check. Like I said, we could have done that with the MasterCard too, because we could have just chosen checking from here. But they just want to show you both of them, I think. And we're going to do call telephone, which again, so we're on step 9 if you're following the steps in the book. And then we're going to select checking, which I did already. I jumped the gun. And then we're going to put our check number in. And then down here, we're going to put utilities, or we can just click on it. Maybe that's too much scrolling. Utilities, telephone. And put in the amount of the bill, which is $325, or the amount we're paying. And we'll hit save and close, and we've recorded that payment with checking. And that does it for our payments of bills and use of credit card payments. And so we'll move on to the next section. And that section is to create a trial balance. And actually, they're going to show us not only how to create a trial balance, which we've already done, but also how to click on portions of the trial balance to create additional reports. So step 1 in this section is to click reports, and then go to trial balance, which is way down here under For My Accountant. And it's going to bring up a trial balance. We can create a transaction report by clicking on the dollar amount of any account. So step 2, it says go to the checking account and click on the 876 to produce a transaction report. So this shows all the transactions that occurred during the month of August in this checking account. Okay, it's actually really useful because it summarizes everything that could have happened. It tells us to print this report, but we're not going to print it. We're actually going to export it, or PDF, whichever you want, and you're going to upload this report as one of the things to show that you went through this walkthrough. Okay, and then we can click back to report summary right here to get us back to the trial balance. And then we're going to click our inventory assets amount right there. And it'll do the same thing. It will pull up a transaction report. And instead of printing, you're going to do the same thing. You export it, sell it, and upload that document in Canvas the way you have already with other assignments. Then we'll go back to our report summary. And we're going to click on accounts payable, which is down here on the amount. Transaction report. And we'll do the same thing, export and upload it. And that does it for chapter 5. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. And again, as always, if you have questions or if you stuck something, call or an email or a text, and we'll find a way to get together and work through those problems. I hope you have a great week.